He's super down to earth, he's super humble. It's just the guy he is.
I've certainly seen more talented athletes than Levi over the years, and I could say their names right now and you'd never heard of them.
Cycling's not just the strongest guy. It's a combination of the smartest and the strongest.
He raced in the wrong era because he raced in the Lance Armstrong era, and if there hadn't been a Lance Armstrong around, Levi Leipheimer would have been the greatest Tour de France rider from the United States from his era.
Just riding a bike for sheer pleasure is one of the nicest things you can do. There's no way that he wants to walk away from this.
It's hard to take it all in at once, you know, your whole life. And that's kind of what, you know, when I come back here, it does force me to do that. My career's gone to France and China and across the United States. And these are places that when I was growing up here, I couldn't even imagine them. I mean, they just didn't even seem real. It's a little overwhelming because all of a sudden, nearly 40 years has gone by. I'm 38 now. You come back here, you stand in this place and you look around and you see a street over here that you first got into cycling over 20 years ago. Or, you know, you look out that direction and you learn to ski on the mountains over there 35 years ago. It just seems surreal to sort of go back and follow the whole story.
What do you think about the race, Levi?
Well, I think it's going to be competitive. Going uphill is going to get tired, but the second run it's going to be fast, a little easier, I think.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
So we're here at the Outdoorsman in Butte, Montana. We get tons of Levi fans from Washington and Idaho and all of Montana and really all around the United States that come in to check out the jersey collection. Levi had started working at the Outdoorsman at age 13 or so, right when he was starting to ride a road bike. And the Outdoorsman was started in 1969 by my mom and dad, Bob and Yvonne.
Yeah, they kind of grew up in the ski shop and bike shop, and I think it was a lot of fun back in those days.
Push it, Levi, come on! Let's go, Levi!
They were on skis every weekend. He loved ski racing. He loved the competitive aspect of it.
We were born, raised ski racing and skied all the disciplines, you know, slalom, giant slalom, super giant slalom, and downhill.
They were competitive, both of them. Levi just, he loved that competitive spirit.
Up, Levi, let's go! Let's go, kiddo, pass him, pass him!
I've always been competitive my whole life. I was that way since I was a little kid.
What do you think about your competition here today?
Oh, I think it's going to be pretty tough. I think I can beat Pat. And Forrest, I don't know, I think I can beat him too.
This is my young protege. He might take it today. Been training hard.
So these were the downhill skis that Levi broke his back in Jackson Hole on.
was a cold day in Jackson Hole. It hadn't snowed much that year, so there was more contour to the hill. And I was too far back. My weight was too far back, which is a no-no in ski racing. And so went off the jump, launched up higher than I should have. And I remember hitting the ground, and obviously there was something wrong.
So many of the articles say that ended his ski career, but in fact he did go back and ski that same race the following year. He would take any kind of disappointment, and he could always pretty much turn it into a positive thing and that would help him to move forward and just put that behind you and move on to the next task.
It was always a dream to want to be in the Winter Olympics, and that was both a dream that we shared. And this is 2004 Summer Olympics in Athens, Greece, and that's out of all these jerseys. All the jerseys are Levi's, but that one's obviously mine that he signed to me, and it's a shared dream. So.
I've only had one brother, but he was a really good older brother to me growing up. I looked up to him, and he took care of me. But he's 7 years older than I am, so we're a different generation, and he had his friends. And I think probably that's why one of the reasons I got on the bike and loved it so much is because I could hang out with him and his friends, and I could do something with them and actually compete with them. When you have a brother that's 7 years older than you are and you're trying to keep up all the time, that's great training for later on in life.
I think right away on the bike, I think he was having a hard time keeping up. He was off the back.
Do you remember the moment though when I went from being off the back to being off the front? We were climbing up Main Street and Rob had attacked and dropped everybody, and I was just like, all of a sudden I could do it and I could keep going.
Of course, we grew up in the country and played together as brothers, up until I graduated from high school. And then I think when I left for college, then, Levi had spent a lot of time by himself.
I just remember spending a lot of time by myself on a bike or hiking, and a lot of kids thought that I was weird because I rode a bike, I wore spandex and rode around, and that was just bizarre for someone in Butte. When you're a kid and you're growing up, that affects you, and I wanted nothing more just to get out of here and go live my life somewhere else where I did fit in, and maybe prove a point along the way. But there's no denying the fact that, this is where I found my passion for cycling. This is where I grew up. This is what made me who I am. This is a beautiful place when you look around. I mean, the mountains back there, but it's just a long ways from the Tour de France. It's a long ways from Paris.
This was Levi's room. The Greg LeMond poster's been on the wall since he was 16, I believe. So we left it there.
I just started getting into cycling, found what I love to do, and I found what I know now made me who I am. To watch Greg and to do what he did, and I was obviously inspired by him, that only fueled the fire that much more.
That actual image, I think, has been laser etched in Levi's brain. That was something that he wanted to do in life, and that was what was meant to be.
We're in the middle of Montana. It's freezing all year round. There's like 2 weeks of summer, and I had fallen in love with this sport that required good weather. My My parents were supportive in that, and they sort of let me go at a very young age. I moved away while I was still in high school. I was lucky enough to do that with my ski racing.
When Levi first went down to Salt Lake and was on the ski team, their training program wasn't difficult enough for Levi because he'd go out and train some more after their program.
We rode bikes once a week. We had time trials once a week. He was so far ahead of everybody. I worked with world elite athletes in alpine skiing in Europe, in Canada, in the United States. For the first time ever, I said, you go on your own. That's when I realized, this kid, he's really got something going for him.
Then he went to Ole and he said, I'm thinking about going to Belgium. Belgium's the hotbed of cycling, so to speak, and go over there for the summer. And Ole said, well, do you know someone over there? And he said, no.
I was at a point in my life where I had nothing to lose, and I was halfway through college and going down that path, or did I really want to become a professional cyclist? It was the time to put all my cards on the table.
He lived in a hostel in Belgium and rode 50 miles to the race and then raced and then came back home. It wasn't an easy life, and I think that was the hard road that really paved the way of how hard this sport was going to be.
This was his first yellow jersey from when he lived in Belgium and was cycling the Tour de Namur.
Tour of Namur, yes, that's right. This was one of the bigger stage races for amateurs at the time in Belgium, and I think I was obviously the only American on the team. That got me onto the national team, the US national team, which allowed me to do races, the bigger races, with some professional teams.
I think the first time I was aware of Levi was probably around 1992 or 93. And I ended up getting in a breakaway with one other rider, and it was just he and I, and we went to the line, and I ended up getting second to this guy. And after the race, the team manager of the team came over and started grilling me like, how could you let that happen? Who is this guy? I've never heard of him before. I'm like, I don't know. What's his name? Levi Leipheimer or something like that. And I said, yeah, I've never heard of him either, but he's good. Actually took a spot on what was now the Einstein's Bagels team, and that was 1996, and he came over and raced with us, and we were a team of some of the better amateurs in the country that got put together for that team.
We were just a bunch of guys in a van, not getting paid, going to these races, racing against the pros, and succeeding.
It was kind of like us versus the world, the little amateur team that could, and we'd go toe-to-toe with the professional teams.
One of my all-time favorite years, out of 14 years of being a pro and almost 20 years of cycling, was that year.
Here we were, just this tiny little amateur team out of Salt Lake City, fueled by bagels. It was special because it was with a group of friends that I'm still close to today, and I still keep in touch a lot.
There was a period in time where Levi was going to ride for Mercury, and I was for sure going to be part of that team. At some point, Levi just decided that the Saturn team looked a little bit better for him, and so he moved that direction. That hurt me. That I felt I was hurt by that, because I wanted him to come with us and ride with us and be successful with us. I felt like we had a good relationship. I felt like he had a team that was going to support him.
Levi is, I think, going to be one of the big names to watch here.
It was his decision, and he obviously felt very comfortable and very solid in that decision, and I'm not one to second guess what another guy's going to do. He's got to do what's right for him. If it had been different, would it have all been different? Very possibly.
The sport of cycling it's sponsor dependent, and the system's not very stable. And so everybody's constantly surviving and fighting for contracts and for sponsors, and obviously the goal was to be professional and someday race and ride in Europe on a big European team and ride the Tour de France. That's not just one step, there's many steps along the way. I was young and carefree, not a lot of responsibility. And I remember meeting Odessa the day before a race in Philadelphia at a coffee shop.
It was funny because I saw him, he was kind of sitting in the back, you know, Levi style, like not saying much to anybody, just doing his own thing, and it really bothered me that he wasn't paying attention to me. So I started teasing him about being from Montana, and I just really liked him right away from the beginning. He eventually sent me an airline ticket to come visit him in California, and I came and I never left. But let me tell you, whenever we have an argument, he reminds me that he has the other end of that ticket to send me back to wherever I came from. These are my dogs. This is Smokey, Lorenzo Washington, Scooter, Coyote, that's Tess. She's our poodle / anteater. And I think we're missing one. Oh, Bandit, he's right here. Bandit! This is Bandit Hugo Maria Maragon Leipheimer the first. That's our first dog.
Now, I was an animal lover as a kid, and so was Odessa. And when we first met, one of the first things we did was get a cat. We rescued a cat. You know, over the years, it's now we have 24 pets.
My 4th grade teacher asked us to draw a picture of ourselves when we were like growing up, you know? I drew a picture of myself in this little tiny house on top of a hill, all by myself, with like a ton of animals. Like there was every kind of animal you could imagine wandering around, and that was my dream. Come on, guys. I just wanted to live in a house on a hill with a bunch of animals. So here I am. Come on, Smokey, come on.
I think that Odessa's passion for animals, as well as mine, has grown since we've known each other. We've been through a lot of fosters, and a lot of animals have come in and out of our doors, and so I think I've seen it all.
I got it. It's okay, it's okay.
She's always been attracted to animals, and that has led to the Forget-Me-Not Farm. And when you look at the big picture, what she's doing is the most admirable thing you can do with your life.
I went to the Forget-Me-Not Farm thinking it was a rescue farm for farm animals. And they were like, well, no, it's a therapy farm for at-risk kids.
Okay, you guys, come on over. We're going to do circle.
And so that kind of threw me off a little bit because I've never wanted to have kids.
So, everybody, welcome to Forget-Me-Not Farm.
She came out, she actually didn't even know we were working with kids. She just came out because of the animal piece. And so we started talking, and we plugged her into a group, and she started doing that, and she loved it. We work with about 14 different agencies in Sonoma County who have children that all have substantiated reports of abuse and neglect. We're unique in that we're working just with victims. We're working with kids that are in the system because they've been, you know, some crime has been perpetrated to them.
They've had a tough start. There's a lot of opportunity for these kids to go in the wrong direction through no fault of their own.
Because they're coming from violent homes, they have a tendency to model that violent behavior, and what we're doing is trying to teach those children through the use of animals, nurturing and caring and empathy, and sort of all the caring things that kids would normally learn in a nonviolent home.
Good job. Okay, let's do one more handful if we can.
What we want to do at the farm is bring out the greatness that they have and show it to them.
Look at those two birds! That's what happens when you don't brush your teeth.
We can show them a better way, another way, show them that there are good people in the world and that they matter, and basically that we care about them. I never wanted to have kids, and the reason why I know it now is because I'm meant to have these kids at the farm.
You want to say hi to her?
You know, I'm meant to be their advocate and maybe their voice, because these kids' life hasn't been particularly good to them. And it's funny because at the farm, I learned that I also love kids. Who knew? I didn't know.
To see Levi passionate about those issues too, it takes some of the, you know, of his stony seriousness and puts a really sort of nice and human face on it.
You think this guy has a real hard shell until you see him, you know, all of a sudden come home and see his dogs run up to his feet, you know, and then and then you see what's going on inside.
It's weird to see him like at his races and doing his thing, like he's so polished and professional. And then you see him at home and he's like talking to the Chihuahua in his Chihuahua voice, and it's like, what?
Oh, did I stop calling you?
Got your leg. What are you gonna do now?
It's, you know, like Ace Ventura at his house. He's got a ton of animals, and Levi's Ace, like, hello horse, hello goats, oh, those are my chickens.
Odessa's definitely, had a big influence on me along the way. I mean, I have way more compassion for animals, I think, than I would have without her.
Isn't it? We're like so lucky to live here. We're so incredibly blessed. Oh, Queen! You didn't hurt your camera.
I chose to live in Santa Rosa. In 1996, I just turned professional. I had no idea where to live. And then I checked out Santa Rosa and I immediately felt like that's where I belonged. So I came here like this little pickup truck just packed with everything in it and never left. I meet a lot of people who grew up in Santa Rosa, but I feel like I just feel more appreciation for Sonoma County than they do because I found it myself. I chose to live there. I wasn't born there. I really appreciate it. The more I go around the world, I love it more and more.
Just really like knowing the roads intimately, having a relationship with the county and the pavement and the trees.
That's my home. Simple as that.
I didn't know Sonoma County existed. I mean, I maybe heard it, the name dropped a little bit, but I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know the roads like that existed. The amount of roads in Sonoma County are off the hook. And then the quality and the character and, the diversity of them. If you wanted a hour-long climb, within the first 2 hours you go up the Pine Flat. If you wanted to do 15 minutes here, you could link that climb up to 15 minutes there, and you could maybe instead of doing that, head down this valley. And I mean, it's like endless amount of options, And the scenery is just immaculate, you go rides to the ocean, you're deep in redwood forest, and you come out on, kind of barren, grassy plains with California oaks in the horizon, and I couldn't imagine a better place to ride your bike.
It's there for all disciplines of the sport of cycling. You have unbelievable roads, unbelievable dirt. Not to have to pack your bike in a car and drive somewhere. I mean, to be able to literally ride out of your driveway, spend 2, 3, 4, whatever number of hours you want, and then be able to ride home and get fat and happy.
Sonoma County is full of passionate, dedicated people. They've built their lives around the bicycle. I'm talking about doctors, lawyers, dentists, restaurateurs, people who have gone off and done what they've loved. That's rare. You don't find that anywhere. And we have a collection of those people here in Sonoma County.
I was born in the northwest part of Italy. I came here in the States 25 years ago, and we own this restaurant, Riviera Restaurant in Santa Rosa, with me, my brother, and my sister-in-law. Well, I met Levi 10 years ago, 11 years ago or so. And then from there, we started riding together, and then from riding, we become friends.
He's a quiet guy, I'm a quiet guy, but we share these experiences of just being out there for hours and hours in the outdoors of Sonoma County.
The main reason we together there is to go train. He doesn't need me to get better. of course. I'm sure, he likes the idea to the company, though, for those long ride, day after day. I mean, it's not easy. You gotta go rain or shine, hot or cold. So we do have a bond, One day, just during a ride, actually asked Levi if he could give me a jersey after a week. He showed up at the restaurant and he said, "Listen, I have a present for you," and I hung it in the wall. If you look around, there are cycling jerseys everywhere. So we try to make us a community center where people can come and get together. The big part of that is the cycling community. It's been very good to us.
Everybody, Francesca.
Cycling isn't a culture by itself. It's what this culture does. It's a characteristic of the culture of Sonoma County and Santa Rosa because it's been introduced by this growing understanding that Sonoma County is an incredible place to live and ride a bicycle.
Everybody knows Levi in Santa Rosa, clearly. That's why cycling has been growing so much in the Bay Area, and in Santa Rosa in particular, in Sonoma County, because of Levi and everything he did for cycling and for the community.
I think he's been a magnetic force towards more talent coming here, more people that they recognize that, yeah, maybe there is something to Sonoma County. If you want to get better, you go where the best people are, and he's here.
Pick up Roger here. Cool.
Roger Bartell is known as the fastest dentist on earth. Over the years, I felt like we've grown to be great friends. He's like a brother to me, and we share the love of the bike. And Roger has this just undying passion for riding his bike. It's like he's been pent up and he can't wait to get out there and ride, yet he rides all the time.
So last year, started road training, and we go on a road ride, and we go through Occidental, and he's gone, "You can win the next Grasshopper."
The Grasshoppers are a tradition here in Sonoma County. This is the 13th year. It's called an adventure series. So we got the ride card here. This actually shows the map of the course, and on the back is a description. So nobody knows really what the course is until you show up and you get the card. It's part of the fun. These events do a lot for our cycling community. Just local pride. Be able to tell your friends you kicked their ass for a day. No other motivation than that.
So he planted the seed in my mind that, yeah, maybe I could win this thing. And Levi, he coached me. He said, if you see someone attack, just bring it back slowly. Don't, just save yourself. And it worked. I made my attack super hard right before the finish, and Levi was just soft pedaling there, waiting for me to take the win.
We knew he was on good form, so we were hoping he could win today, and he pulled it off.
It's really something to have a super domestique. There's nothing better.
It's Glenn. You made it.
Glenn Fant. When I first moved to Sonoma County, we definitely hit it off right away. Yeah, we have a ton of history together, from riding mountain bikes and road bikes and cross bikes all over Sonoma County to being my personal mechanic at Tour of California, the Tour of Switzerland, and the Tour de France.
If your mechanic is like your rock, that's one person Levi can always go to. Glenn will give him solid advice, and Glenn's gonna make sure that his bike is working perfectly and that nothing will go wrong.
I'm Glenn Fant. I own NorCal Bike Sport and the Bike Peddler in Santa Rosa. We've been here 35 years.
Glenn is definitely one of the best mechanics ever. A lot of people can attest to that in this county. And there's a lot of people that bring their bikes specifically to Glenn from other parts of the state.
Glenn Bant, the best bike mechanic on earth.
I mean, he's actually taught me how to set up my bikes and how they should be. He knows how I prefer the height of my hoods and the rotation of my handlebars, and he knows that I play with my saddle, you know, millimeter here, millimeter there, depending on if I'm tight, loose, good form, bad form, which way the wind is blowing.
When we're working on his bikes, he's always, every 5 minutes, he wants something adjusted, do this and do that. And then you do it and then he complains, go this way, go that way, or move the seat up 1 millimeter and the next day down 1 millimeter and forward 1 millimeter and back 2 centimeters. And then he gets all grumpy about it and he gets quite cranky. The good thing is when he's grumpy, or basically when he's a pain in the ass, he's flying.
As far as working on bikes, this team has some of the best riders in the world, you know, and I've gotten to go to the biggest races in the world, so it's the pinnacle of what I do. It's like an honor to be here.
It means a lot that the team trusted me to bring him along, and I knew that once they got to know him and they saw that he worked hard and he gets along with everybody, that they would love him. I guess that helps my credibility. So we've got some good experience and stories now from a couple Californias and Switzerland, the Tour de France, Argentina.
From the outside, it looks like a dream job. You get to travel around all the time, but it would always be much nicer being a cyclist.
It was so incredibly boring in the car today that I ate everything. So bored, I just ate the whole time.
Okay, Cash, this looks very good now. You look like a motorbike. Come on, eat shit now. You're gonna eat shit on the way back. Come on.
Yeah, he said that a lot. Yeah, and it's like, I think that means like bury yourself or whatever.
Come on, Levi, eat shit. You can do it. Eat shit now. Come on. Now you're gonna eat shit to the top. Eat shit now. You're gonna eat shit on the way back.
But like different directors say different things. Like I keep hearing things to yell at you.
50 meter. Come on, Levi. Good job, Levi. Come on, kill yourself to the bloody top. Come on, Levi. Come on.
Thanks, dude. All right.
He loves to mountain bike, so of course we always mountain bike a lot together, and that's a little stressful for me because he doesn't hold back. I mean, he's competitive with whatever he does. It's like, yo, guy, slow down. You got a race in July that I think trumps what we're doing right now.
He's way more of a mountain biker than he is a road rider. It's like he mountain bikes like almost every day. He has mountain bike trails at his house, like real trails. They're super fun.
For years now, I've spent, almost every day, on my mountain bike. We have a great park there in Santa Rosa, Annandale. And I'm with my friends on the weekends, Marin County, Sonoma County. And, these guys are really good. So over the years, my skills have improved a little bit and I'm not so bad. And
it was really nice back in the old days when he was mountain bike riding, he would put on the biggest, heaviest tires that he could find to give him more control, which was good for me because when you go uphill, it slows him down a little bit. But that's not the case anymore. I mean, now he's got the lightest tires and the best bike, and he goes faster in the uphill and faster in the downhill. He's unbelievable.
We ride a lot, and there's big old gap jumps, and I don't know if we're allowed to say this because he's gonna get in trouble, but he has no problem doing those, like big stuff, like jumps and step downs and all sorts of stuff. He has no trouble doing that.
I love it. And there's days when I have to tell myself, I better not ride today because this is my off season and I need to be getting out of shape. I need to be resting. And I've ridden, 4 days in a row now on the mountain bike. I better take a day off. I didn't know a lot about the Leadville 100 until, Lance and I were talking about it. And of course, there was some trash talking amongst us of who was the better mountain biker. You know, it was just all in good play. Everybody partaking in the Leadville 100, it's just all about pushing themselves and finding out how far they can go and how fast they can go and how high they can go, and I'm no different. At 12,000 feet, all of a sudden, it's not so easy, and that's definitely the biggest challenge for everyone, is the altitude.
I know he was really stoked to win Leadville, but I also know when he got off his bike at Leadville that he didn't ever want to do that race again, too, because it was so hard.
You know, when you're out there and you're pushing yourself and you're feeling the pain, it sounds crazy, but you learn to love it.
Cycling it's a tough sport. Success is very few and far between. I mean, you get your ass handed to you much more than you win a race. In the end, well, why do we do it all? I think it's undeniable that we love racing our bike.
After 9/11, 2001, when Levi got on the podium at the Vuelta, I'm like, wow, that's a guy I met on the plaza 4 or 5 years ago. That's it. Oh my God, that guy's the real deal.
Well, this is a fabulous ride by Leipheimer, who's going to finish third in the Tour of Spain.
I think really the first time that I noticed Levi Leipheimer was when he finished on the podium at the Vuelta a España. He was a guy who'd really been a little bit in the background of all the American riders at that time. He was a lot quieter then, until all of a sudden he broke through with that performance.
Now we know him very well. Levi Leipheimer is on board for the United States. He wasn't just a king of the time trials, he showed us he was also a king in the mountains.
When I first fell in love with cycling, I remember watching the Tour. And there was something, I can't describe it, but it was like, that's what I'm gonna do. That's it.
He was capable of winning the Tour de France if the cards had come down in the right order. But you know, you can say that with a lot of riders. There's only one guy wins the Tour every year, but that certainly when he got his podium place was probably his highlight. Saddest moments was when he broke his wrist a couple of years ago in the Tour.
Coming around the corner there, you can see there's a crash there. That looks like Levi Leipheimer went down as well.
Such a silly crash, a left-hand bend, and he went wide, got tangled up with the sidewalk and fell down. Wrist was broken, Tour was over. You only get one chance as a professional cyclist. There's the moment when it's the right moment, and he lost that moment for sure then. But, you know, any pro cyclist will look back on his career and see those same faults. That's the life of a pro bike rider. One mistake, and you're out. Levi was alongside Lance for a lot of his career. Difficult for him had to play second fiddle to a great American cyclist in Armstrong.
Probably unfortunately for him, he raced in the wrong era because he raced in the Lance Armstrong era, and if there hadn't been a Lance Armstrong around, Levi Leipheimer would have been the greatest Tour de France rider from the United States from his era.
No, that's why he's so good. He's a completely dedicated top athlete. Now they're fun and games now. They make a nice couple, don't they?
I've never looked back and thought, you know, oh, I got overshadowed and I could have been the one getting all the attention. You have to find something that's more meaningful than fame or money or glory to satisfy yourself and to push you through all those obstacles and all that pain. Because for me, it was just about seeing how far I could go and being the best that I could be.
When you look back on it, it's the experience of setting a goal, failing, picking yourself up, setting a new goal, maybe getting injured, maybe getting sick, maybe having to go down a path that you never thought you'd have to go down, and managing that.
Are people gonna know where we're sitting right now? Because it was actually right here at this front door. It was 2 years ago, right here at my friend Mike's house. Federal investigators showed up at the door with a subpoena. to go in front of the grand jury about the whole US Postal investigation.
The prosecutors wanted to speak to anybody who had ridden with Lance on the same team to see what anybody knew about Lance's involvement with the use of or the distribution of performance-enhancing drugs or methods. And at that point, he's only got one choice, and that is to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, or go to jail for perjury.
You know, I think tell the truth, everything I knew, and have that off my shoulders was the obvious choice. I remember the first time that somebody kind of laid it out for me that if you want to, you know, make it to the highest level and compete at the highest level, then you need to, you know, take this path and make these choices. And it took years and years to come to the conclusion that I had to participate and take performance-enhancing drugs to compete at that level. It's not something that I dreamed about when I was 13 years old. But, you know, I just have to remember the position that I was in, and that was a choice I made, and I have to own that. It wasn't every day. It wasn't for every race. I never wanted to do it. It was just a miserable experience. I was younger, and I had really set my heart on this dream of riding the Tour de France, performing in the Tour de France at the highest level of the sport. To come to that time when you finally cross the line, I think it's tough to convey to people what that experience is like. It's a very slow process. You begin to accept it little by little, justify it, like I said, and yeah, eventually you try it, and then you move that line in the sand a little farther.
When this stuff was happening in the sport, it was an industry-wide deal. You'd actually have different guys from different teams who are all competing against each other on the road in one room doing something together.
We weren't all in a dark corner by ourselves doing this. We, in a sense, banded together. Some people helped each other out just to stay afloat and keep up.
We've heard this in the media. How can I have been tested 500 times and never have a positive result? Levi's been tested, he never had a positive result. Many of the riders who did things were tested repeatedly without positive results. Everybody knew, from team management to riders, that there were ways of avoiding positive results.
It was stressful. It was becoming another thing entirely than what I wanted and what I dreamed about. When a point came to decide to stop doing all this, it was scary because I could have lost my job. I could have all of a sudden just not been relevant and not good enough. I had just had too much to lose, and it was a switch in my head that I had to make, but I'm glad I did. It was a much easier life after that. The testing has gotten better. I think the anti-doping authorities were catching up, and they implemented better testing, and it was a relief because this testing that was coming about at that time if it really worked, then it meant that you could do really well without anything, and that's the truth. I've been winning races for the last 6 years and competing at the highest level without using any performance-enhancing drugs or methods, just training and working as hard as I can. The most important thing of all of this is if we can make a change that, the testing is better and there's more of a culture that this doesn't exist. So for the next generation or the coming generations, they won't have to face that choice. Some guys like Ben King or the younger guys that are coming up now that look very promising, TJ, Ian Boswell, Joe Dombrowski, these guys, they've read enough in the media that they probably know what happened in the past. They may be a little bit worried about what they're getting into and whether or not it still exists. And I hope that, I can still set an example for them and that they'll realize that, I had to face those choices 10, 12, 15 years ago that I really hope and I believe that they don't have to face now. And hopefully that, they can find some inspiration in that. I remember when they first announced there would be a tour of California. And I remember reading about it and having to read it twice and think this was gonna happen. And I was so motivated. And I just felt like it was destiny. I felt like I was gonna win this race.
For Levi, as a California native, as a Santa Rosa guy, as a California company, as a California race, we feel like he's one of us.
But the big round of applause for the three-peat man, Levi Leipheimer, their winner.
Who have so much success all around the world, but for him to target our race as the race he really wants to win and then do it has been a great help to us. And he's been a great champion, a great ambassador. To have an American and a California champion fits the bill, and to have someone who's as charismatic and personable as Levi play that role of ambassador it's been good to us.
And now, fast forward to 2011, and we're going to come to Squaw Valley and going to be able to start there with an incredible stage. It's going to represent the Tahoe region really well, weather permitting.
It's getting worse out again.
Is it?
Well, was the snow stuck to the ground when you drove here?
Yeah. But it's kind of slushy.
Yeah, well, that's not possible to ride in.
It's very, very cold here up on the top of the mountain. I had hoped we would welcome you now to the first stage of the Amgen Tour of California, but instead we're having to tell you that the officials have officially cancelled today's stage.
I'd like to ask Levi, our three-time champion, to talk to you, let you know from a cyclist standpoint what this all means.
There's been a lot of discussion amongst the riders, and the consensus is we don't feel comfortable with the conditions. We don't know what can happen out there. The weather is changing every 5 minutes. On behalf of the riders, we're sorry.
Fear not, as we still have 8 incredible days of racing remaining here at the Amgen Tour of California. For everyone here with the tour, all of the riders, all of the staff, thank you so much for understanding.
of California, stage 1. we all waited as long as we could. We were standing on the start, 3 minutes to go, and it was like this, but blowing. You know, everybody agreed, just we weren't comfortable racing, and it sucks. I mean, we're not happy about it, but we got to think of the upcoming 7 days.
Just a little bit grippy here, and I would have to think that Levi Leipheimer will be asking his teammates, Phil, to get him to the front end of this pack rather quickly.
Within a cycling team, you have riders with different talents. Guys who can sprint, guys who can climb, guys who can win stage races. You know, I won the Tour of California 3 times. I've won the Dauphiné, the Tour of Germany, Tour of Switzerland. So I'm known as the guy who can win the stage races. So going into the 2011 Tour of California, naturally I was the leader. I did get quite sick before, and so the team was nervous. Radio Shack was a huge sponsor, Nissan was a huge sponsor, and they had told us the Tour of California is the most important race of the year, and we got to win it.
Well, as we look now at the riders here on the front, Team Radio Shack Paul quite clearly came out. Chris Horner always rides with his half smile on his face. Just behind Horner on our right is the 3-time winner, Levi Leipheimer.
Chris and I weren't so much competing, but there was a moment in the race where we had to find out who was the better rider. And that came down to Sierra Road.
What a job of work is being done by the man on the front, Chris Horner. Well, Horner now putting a hammer down. He's got Levi Leipheimer right in the slipstream. They've popped Andy Schleck right off the back. He has not yet once asked for any help to come from his teammate Levi Leipheimer. Oh, Chris Horner has popped. I think he's about to pop Levi Leipheimer.
Chris Horner has accelerated here, and Levi can't follow. Now that is a story.
When he was going, I didn't know like if he was just going that hard for a K or K and a half, and I was like, okay, he's gonna slow down. He just never slowed down. Not much you can do about that. No.
Chris Horner is on fire here this afternoon.
Obviously, I'm sure, like, directly after the stage, how can you not be disappointed? You know, that's the first major shakeup in the GC, and not only did you not win, but your own teammate is the one to beat you.
When they see Chris going away on his own, everybody's a little bit stunned. Of course, I was disappointed that I couldn't stay with him, but he was stronger. You can't win every race, and that's how it is. And you have to, you know, how you deal with those situations is just as important as how you deal with your wins.
And yes, right at the top there is where we're going today, believe it or not. The leader in the California Travel and Tourism King of the Mountains is Pat McCarty of Spider Tech, and it's still the hard-working boys from the Shack who are controlling this breakaway.
This is amazing to see the work that's being done on the front here by Mathieu Boucher.
That day on Mount Baldy was special because Mathieu Boucher, I think he did some things that he'd never done before.
As we were going up Mount Baldy, Levi was back there. He's like, there's only 7 guys left. There's only 5 guys left. There's only 2 guys left. Keep it going. And, you know, obviously when you have Levi Leipheimer telling you these things, you're like, okay, I got to keep going.
But just look at the boys from Radio Shack. Well, we were wondering who was going to attack them, and I'm not sure anyone is capable of attacking. There's riders being dropped off all of the time here. Boucher will do everything until he can do no more, and then it'll be down to the top 2 men on the squad to just try and handle it to the rest of the way up.
Levi was talking to Chris, and we were getting to about 3K to go in the climb, and at this point I was wanting to be done, and Levi said, okay, you get a Femkin, and I'm ready to go. So I gave it one last go, and that was it for me, and those 2 delivered it the rest of the way.
Look at the craze here of the fans. They've got 2 American riders at the top of the race on Mount Baldy, and what a teammate to have alongside you. Levi Leipheimer, on this occasion a 3-time champion of the Amgen Tour of California, is working and pacing Chris Horner.
He showed that he was there in support of Chris Horner all week, so, you know, if it came down to it, he would be working for Chris, and it shows that he's a true champion.
There is no doubt now who the two best bike riders are.
He did the professional and respectable thing to support Chris, and for me as a young rider, that's impressive to see.
And that's the two-arm salute from Levi, the same from Chris Horner, a 1-2 for Radio Shack. An absolutely exemplary ride by these two riders, and the men they'll thank all of their teammates when they finish.
He came on the bus and he said to me, like I told you last night, how I do today depends on how strong you are, and you know, I guess he won the stage. That's what a guy in my shoes kind of dreams about doing. It's something that I'll remember for a long time. Probably the highlight of my career thus far.
He's a role model. You can see the way the young guys, you know, relate to him and interact with him.
Levi's like a commander of the sport, and for me, a young guy, a first-year pro, coming onto the scene, you know, I have a lot of things to learn, and a guy like that can really point me in the right direction.
I mean, I remember him first time going out racing and just talking about making sure you put everything in the right place. And if like life and riding your bike is, you know, overlapping too much, then it's taken away from the bicycle. People always have excuses why things didn't happen, you know? Levi just knows the process of taking away all those excuses. I mean, I feel like I've learned more from him than I did from my team, from any teammate.
But like a moment that stands out for me personally with Levi would have had to have been at the time trial at this last year's Tour of California. And it wasn't necessarily an athletic feat that stood out. My wife is battling cancer, and for me it was finding a spot for her in the team car so she could follow. I know it meant a lot to Levi to have her in the car, and he wanted to ride for her.
And there he is, Levi Leipheimer getting the countdown when moments ago he saw his course record broken by 4 seconds by Dave Zabriskie.
To know that he wanted to win that stage for her was just overwhelming.
That was, I think, a time when she was struggling. She was going through a lot. You know, that day just reminded me what's important, and it was because she was there.
According to my calculation, you should have the best time so far. Keep going, you're doing great. Come on. Remember, all those guys are bashing you all the time. You can fucking win it for them. Come on, show them. That's why those young kids can't do it. They can't suffer like you, man. Come on, they can't suffer like you. Come on. Come on, Levi, come on. Last corner, you got it. Keep going. Sprint. Go.
The average running time is a 30:47. The time finish is a 30:35. He is second place. That's good for second place for Leipheimer.
Hey, did you have fun? Oh my god, that was the most awesome day I've ever been away. I tried to go my hardest. I got you some flowers. They're right behind you. I hope you had fun. I'm glad you did. Yeah. You have a lot of friends who love you, huh?
Yeah.
You hang in there, okay? Yeah. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Have a good trip back home, okay? I will. I'm so glad you got to come. See ya. We'll see you back in Santa Rosa.
Skills leading up to where Ben, managing the store, being a leader,
his dedicating and giving my wife his bouquet after the time trial speaks volumes about, you know, the heart that he has and the compassion that he has, not only for his sport, but for those around him. Yeah.
There's a big smile starting to appear on the face of Chris Horner there. His team set him up when they came down to Sierra Road. That's when he grabbed hold of the yellow jersey and started to lay down the foundations for a victory in this event.
This is Levi, who's won this race 3 times. He was 3rd last year, and he's going to finish 2nd at this time. So he's claimed all podium positions now in the history of this tour.
To be 2nd overall, you know, I was actually pretty content with that. Of course I want to win it.
Please welcome 2nd place overall, Levi Effect.
Tour of California will always be a goal of mine. It always has been a goal of mine.
But you have to have other goals. I mean, it's not just about one race.
Levi Leipheimer now makes the acceleration, and jumping onto his wheel is Cadell Evans. Leipheimer's got the gap.
Look at the gap, and every second counts here. He was 8 down after yesterday. He took one look over his shoulder. Where is this finishing line? Levi Leipheimer has cracked the big time. Leipheimer is parting the ways here, visibly priming extremely well. This was a course which would suit him. And there is the winner of the inaugural first ever Pro Cycling Challenge, and it's gone to the American Levi Leipheimer.
After a season like this, you know, winning Colorado, I can relax a little bit. That one's fun.
And is 8. 101, take 1.
I flew to Pays Basque, which was the next stage race in the Basque region of Spain. And so Sunday morning I woke up to go for an easy ride, which was the day before the race at the hotel. The road I was riding just kind of turned into this bigger 2-lane type highway type thing, and I wasn't comfortable on it, so I saw the sign immediately said 700 meters to a turn to get on another road. So I was going to take that turn, but before I got there, I got hit from behind by a car. You know, it was a really creepy and bizarre experience, because you get hit from behind, you don't hear anything coming, you don't see anything coming, and all of a sudden you're on the ground and you realize you've been hit, and it was pretty traumatic, to tell you the truth. You know, it was a little bit overwhelming.
So what Glenn told me, some old guy tagged you from behind?
Yeah. I got hit, and I was on the ground. But I was like a roller coaster. I was like calm, and then angry, and then I was panicking again.
So what did he say to you?
He was kind of aggressive towards me. You know,
like you were in the wrong or something?
Yeah, like I was in the wrong. Like I shouldn't be riding. I ended up punching him in the chest.
Shut up.
Well, because I was going to, because he was yelling at me. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. You just ran me over. By that time, I could feel my leg, and I was like, oh shit, my leg's broken. This dude's yelling at me, and he's in the wrong. And I really wanted to punch him in the face, but I was like, he's really old, you know?
It was a little strange at the beginning, because he called me from the hospital. The first thing he said, nothing is broken. They think I have a big bruise in my muscle. But no, I cannot really put the weight on.
Let me see it. It looks swollen even with the pants on.
Can you just help me walk outside?
It looks big on the inside.
That?
Yeah.
It's pretty swollen right here. That's where if I move wrong, it really hurts.
I don't think it's that bad.
I think it's starting to turn color already.
Odessa called me and said, they cannot even put the weight on. And so I called a place in California to get an x-ray. And then an hour later, we got the x-ray, got a pretty nice and neat fracture of the proximal fibula. Actually, the first reaction was, I want to try to win Tour of California anyway. I didn't want to tell him it's impossible.
Now, straighten this leg out. So that's probably about, say 14 here. Good. Okay. Now, let's try this one again. Now, go ahead and straighten that one out. Yeah, see? Yeah, so this is more of see, that's about 45.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
You get all this tension from the injury and it just does not want to straighten out.
Right.
And so we decided the first 2 weeks to be conservative. It's not a terrible fracture. You cannot walk, you cannot run, but you can speed on a bike. So we were talking on the phone basically every day and testing, He was telling me about his progresses, and around the half of the third week, we decided to start riding outside.
I've been doing this a long time, and I remember the first time that I crashed out of the tour was 2003. To crash out first stage and then watch the race take off without me, that was really heartbreaking. I didn't really know how to deal with it, and I was not in a good place. If you get too emotional about everything, it's just too hard. You're like a salmon swimming upstream against your emotions. I got hit by the car, it was 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks exactly from stage 1 here in Santa Rosa. And normally it would be coming here full guns blazing, knowing that I'm the favorite, knowing that everybody expects me to take charge, put the team on the front, control the race. But this year's different.
Made a comment to TV Network, said something about, I think Levi might be playing a little possum. He looks pretty fit and pretty trim. He obviously hasn't been sitting around on the couch. What do you say to that?
What is there to say? I guess, what are you gonna say? I'd be lying if that didn't get to me sometimes, especially people just were saying that I was playing possum or I was faking it, and it was like, I'll never forget what it was like sitting there on the ground after getting tackled by, 3,000-pound car at 40, 50 miles an hour.
We monitored them with a power device on the bike, so we could see right away that it was down 20, 30%. And it was basically pedaling on one leg. So we knew that it was impossible to be at this normal level for Tour of California. So we decided to have the best Tour of California to launch the next block for the Tour de France.
You're looking at the big picture of all the races, the whole season. You've got goals. That's why you always have multiple goals, and just buckle down and keep your nose to the grindstone. And if there's a setback, you have to kind of, go for it again.
been a long journey from that 13-year-old kid that fell in love with cycling until, you know, the 38-year-old that has been all over the world, won stages in the Tour de France, Olympic bronze medal, won the Tour of California 3 times. There's been so many people along the way that have helped me, that have lifted me up, that have given me support and encouragement to reach those goals. I was able to take so much and turn that into success and turn it into the person that I've become. And I felt like Sonoma County and the community, they gave me all that. And at some point I realized that, you know, I need to be that person for somebody else and give back and try to make my community the best it can be.
We are about 15 minutes away from when everybody's going to start staging, so the street's going to close down. Riders are going to start lining up, and then the next thing you know, it's going to be backed up all the way as far as you can see. You know, I want to make sure we've got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted.
Pretty tight for that, yeah.
When we get the day started, Levi's GranFondo, it's a pretty big day.
The GranFondo is something I'm very proud of. You know, it came to me in this spot in the county where I always meet my friends for a mountain bike ride.
We started talking, and I was wearing a GranFondo jersey from Italy. And so I told him, you know, Levi, you need to have a GranFondo, you know, with your name on it.
This like light bulb went off in my head, and I saw it all kind of how everything was going to work at once, and I never felt so good about an idea before.
If I have an idea, how do I get people around me to support the idea, to help it be realized? And you can't do it yourself, so you get people that can help you, and they'll introduce you to people, and then suddenly you have a team in place that can make change.
Levi came to us because he saw what we were doing with some of our other mountain bike events, wanted to work with somebody local, saw that this was going to be an event whose character was very much rooted in Sonoma County and Santa Rosa, and did not want to outsource that.
And when he came up with the idea to produce the GranFondo, we'd already been into producing events for a few years.
Welcome everybody, this is the 7th annual Boggs 8-hour mountain bike race by Bike Monkey. This is going to be the biggest event that Boggs has ever seen.
I kind of raised my hand and said, hey, you know, I think we could do this for you. I saw the GranFondo as a challenge, and it drew me to it. I started Bike Monkey. It was a hobby. You know, it was not meant to be business. For me, it was something that I enjoyed doing. Levi came into the picture just because, you know, being in Sonoma County and being in the cycling industry, it's hard to be more than 1 degree of separation away from him. I met Levi through Yuri, who works for me now.
Luke Lamperti's in 3rd grade, and he's been racing our Dirt Crit series all summer. Super fast little kid. He and his brother love riding their bikes, and they are going to be doing the Medio, I believe, the 63-mile loop. Lost Art, cursive right here. But you know what? He's missing the hump there in his M. So we're actually Bike Nonky. But that's okay, we'll let it slide.
Oh.
I always wonder what it's like from Levi's perspective, you know? I mean, he's had to trust other people to take an idea and run with it, and he allowed us to do that, and I think that really speaks volumes. That was a dance. You know, I didn't know Levi very well, he didn't know me very well, and our relationship happened in large part through the production of the event. The GranFondo requires a certain level of intimacy because it's something that's in his head that I'm constantly trying to extract.
To see it actually happen is just kind of like surreal. I thought, well, we can get a couple hundred people to come, you know? In the first year it was 3,500, it sold out right away, and then our GranFondo became bigger and bigger, and now in the third year it's 7,500 people.
Here to register for the big ride. Are you ready here?
The Bike Monkey team has done a great job of slowly building the event and not going too big too quickly just because they can. Just because they can sell 10,000 spots. It's more about the quality of the event and keeping it authentic.
Oh, it's as impressive as anything we've ever done at Cliff Park. I mean, people come from all over the country. People have come over from Europe to ride this ride. And there's some kind of magnet.
I think it's huge for us. It's huge. It brings cycling to a new level around here. As you can see, man, it's just unbelievable. People come from all over now. So it's gonna be a great day.
We do a lot of event races, but this is our first GranFondo. So what one, the best one in America, top 10 in the world. We got in, we're psyched. If you look at GranFondos around the world, this is on everybody's to-do list, period.
This is my first ride, so I'm a little tentative, little nervous, but it's for a great cause and it's fun, and I have a whole group of people with me.
The organization of it, the feeling, the celebration after the ride, it's one of the best rides I've ever done.
How can we be the biggest? We don't care about that anymore. We never really did. We need to be the best. We need to always be the best. We need to do things that may not make the most sense from a business point of view, because we need our event to constantly be better every year, if only by a little bit.
I am so thankful for Levi and Odessa. They have pumped hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars the last few years into West County.
And I've got some checks here.
When people ride in the GranFondo, maybe they don't even know what they're giving to. Maybe they just think this is the fee I have to pay to ride in this wonderful race. But, you know, in reality, those funds are going to very needed local, rural charities and schools and fire departments.
I was already thinking about what we would do with money that we get donated to our department today, and that was one thing. You know, we've had a big influx of volunteers, and we need money to help pay for them. It costs about $2,000 just to outfit one volunteer.
What we plan to do with the money is to spend it on things that increase their physical fitness. So we're constantly trying to encourage them to take good care of their bodies. So what better model could it be than Levi? Students think that's wonderful. They're behind that 100%. Just about everyone in our school lives somewhere along the race route, so they're very familiar with it. So they're very excited to see Levi today.
I saw the Tour de France on television when I was 13 years old, and I knew that that was my passion, and that's what I wanted to do. I rode my bike as much as I could, and I hoped that I could be in a tour someday. And I did spend 20 years following my dreams and my passion. It wasn't.
And you crashed a couple of times.
I crashed a lot, yeah. Does anybody else ride their bike a lot?
I do. Yeah.
Are the spandex suits comfortable?
They are actually, yeah.
Woo! Let's go, GranFondo!
Welcome, everyone. We really do appreciate having you here with us. And obviously, not only are you going to have a great bike ride with your friends today and some of the most talented athletes that this sport has ever seen, now you're also giving back to this amazing community. And
I was so excited to get that phone call because that's validation. So to know that a guy like Levi actually cares about the announcing and actually thinks that I'm the guy that he wants to hire for his event, that has me walking on a cloud for days. You know, that event is relaxed. Like, it's not, even though it's a big event, it's not high strung. it's all about the love, you know, and you can feel that there. You feel that from the first moment you contact it. You feel that when you've been, you know, patted on the back and thanked a million times for just doing what you do.
Look how many people are here. It's like 7,500. And as far as the eye can see, it's all cyclists, which is an incredible testament to what Levi's vision has brought to everybody. It's an incredible experience. The ride is beautiful, and the atmosphere is fantastic.
I think you'd rather hear from the man himself. Would you let him hear it? Ladies and gentlemen, Levi Leipheimer!
Thank you all so much for coming. This event means so much to me personally, so much to our community. This is the best day of the year for all of us, so thank you very much. Let's hear it one more time.
The scene at the start is my favorite because you see all these people, you experience something together, it's just so much better. And when you experience something with 7,500 people and everybody gets it, it's really a great feeling.
It's the ultimate shot of adrenaline for me to be on the starting line after the months and months of preparation that we've put into it, and to be on that starting line, to feel that wave of energy that comes from those thousands of riders. I've never felt something like that before.
I remember being at the start line and kind of being overwhelmed by like, wow, I've never had this experience before. Like, man, this is hitting me on all the good levels, like community, race atmosphere, and just a lot of people and enthusiasm and sharing the bike. And you don't always have such a complete experience in the racing world, or, you know, when you're privately out on solo training rides, or even on a training ride with just your few good friends. I mean, I think, the GranFondo hits on all good levels because it's finally a chance for someone like Levi to share his favorite roads and share what it's like having this, you know, this bodily experience. That's pretty special.
As we were leaving Santa Rosa, we were maybe 4 or 5 miles into it, and Levi was out in front, and he was so happy. Just him feeling like he was just at the top of the world.
Seeing people's reactions when he rides by, says, good job, thank you for coming, you know, how's your ride going? Seeing people light up, because he'll say that and continue on, and then they'll turn to their friend and hit their buddy and be like, did you hear what Levi just said to me? It endears him to these participants who've come from all over the world, and it makes them want to come back, and it really creates a connection.
Hello, good morning.
We got to see Levi again.
Yeah.
Up to the top.
Yeah, and he said, hey guys, as he passes.
He recognizes the diversity of the participants. You know, he's got hardcore racing cyclists who want to go full gas out of the gate, but then he has recreational cyclists like me that can't hang. And so he spends the first half of his day with those hardcores, and then he idles back, spends time in the aid station, recognizes the people, the volunteers that are there, and then comes and finishes the day with those that can't participate in that front group.
We're 5 out, I'll do one more.
Everything about this world today is so divisive. It's so black and white. We got 7,500 people to agree to go on a bike ride and love it. It didn't matter where you came from. It didn't matter how you voted. It didn't matter what you did the day before or what you did the day after. Today we're going to go for a ride.
I feel really good about what's happened over the last few years because of Levi moving here, coming up with these ideas, intersecting with us. It feels really good to be a part of that.
What's Levi's impact on cycling? The clearest answer is the GranFondo. Who else could harness everything that it took to create this event that's more than just everyone getting on a bike ride, but is really this incredible celebration of cycling culture, of Northern California culture, and it embodies throughout, you know, all of these characteristics that are really linked to Levi.
It's like, look, dude, I know you won the Tour of California 3 times. I know you've won time trials, but is that what matters at the end of the day? Probably not. And so I think Levi's GranFondo is going to be his legacy.
I guess I think more about how I want to look back on it, and just know that, you know, I gave it everything I had, and then, you know, there was something on the other end of that made it all worthwhile. I think that's just being alive and doing what you love, and that's what makes me who I am.